Hi everyone, thanks again for tuning into Sin's Workshop here on YouTube. Hope you're having a great day. So today we're going to be talking about Havenfall by Sarah Holland. I have a copy of the book somewhere in my massive amounts of books. Once again, I did get it from my Book of the Month subscription, so if you haven't checked out Book of the Month, definitely recommend it. I'm saying that just because I think it's a really good subscription service, especially if you're like on a budget. And you can skip it any month. And I'm on a tight budget, so it really just helped me out a lot financially. But I have a copy of it somewhere in my massive amount of books. And I have to say, ultimately, I think I have a little bit of mixed feelings about this book. I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually excited to read the sequel, Phoenix Flame. But I have some issues with Havenfall that left me wanting more. One of my biggest issues, I think, actually my only issue, was the characterization. And I will talk about that in just a little bit more. Let me talk about what I did like first. So what I did like was the fantasy. Havenfall does follow Maddie. She's on her way to her uncle's inn, and the inn serves as sort of a Switzerland to these magical realms. They come to this magical realm, and they um, work together for peace and trading purposes. So I think it was really cool to see that unveiled, to see Havenfall, this inn, be brought to life in the way that it was brought to life. And I also love Holland's fantasy, how she is able to tie in her fantasy to typical folklore tales, elves, the tales that we as readers have become so familiar with just by reading and just by listening to folk tales. So I really enjoyed that you don't really have to suspend your belief, because who's to say that maybe these tales didn't come from another realm of beings. They came here and they left an imprint. Who's to say that that's not possible? I mean, anything's possible. Maybe that's just the reader in me, but that is what I took away from this novel. That I don't have to suspend my belief. I can get lost in the story, and this story does really lull you into a sense of comfort. All you really want to do is kind of curl up to it and read it, because it really is very well done structurally wise. It was a really good story. The pacing, admittedly, initially the pacing is a little slow. It does take some time to actually get into the novel. When I was reading it, I found that I could easily put it down, and you never want to read a novel that, well, I mean, I guess you do. It's okay to read a novel that you can just put down and be like, oh, I'll pick it up later. And then you do pick it up later, not with a sense of, oh God, I do have to finish this book, but with a sense of, oh, that's right, this book, I have to read it. That is what I took away from it. I was able to put this book down, but then once the pacing started rising, once the story started to really develop and unfold, I found that I was hooked. I couldn't put it down. Like, I wanted to read more. I wanted to see where this story was going, because there is a lot that's going on in the story. There's a lot of mystery, there's a lot of intrigue, there's a lot of fantasy, a lot of magic that just sort of unfolds throughout the course of the story that really ultimately makes it really engaging. And that is why I really like this novel. Now, like I said earlier, the characterization for me was lacking a little bit. I do think Maddie is good as a character. Her internal narrative is very strong. Let me start that way. Her internal narrative is strong, it's relatable. She's filled with a lot of doubt because, given the events of the novel, her uncle was put into a coma and she has to take over the inn. And she had no idea everything that was going on. She hasn't really been trained for it, unfortunately. Now, um, this is where I kind of have issue. Her internal narrative is strong, but her dialogue, her dynamic with other characters, it felt strained. It felt a little fake at times. It felt a little flat. I wish her dynamic with other characters, the dialogue, I wish that it had been more personable. Maybe that was the author's intent because, like I said, her internal narrative is filled with a lot of doubt. She doesn't think she's strong enough. She doesn't think she's capable enough. So she kind of lets other people take the reins and kind of push her aside because she doesn't think she's ready to take on the challenges. She's very conflicted with a lot of her beliefs, and that is, I think, reflected in her dialogue. I just wish more emotion was characterized and brought to life in the story. That's what I wish from Maddie's voice. Granted, she does go on a very good character journey. She does develop. She does find the strength that she needs to take on these challenges. I'll say that I do like her arc, her character arc. It does grow. She does develop. And her voice, her external voice, it does become stronger. As for some of the side characters, particularly Taya, I think Taya was just more of a plot device. It feels like she's there just to make Maddie question the circumstances and question the magic and question everything she's been told. Their dynamic just kind of falls flat. It just doesn't resonate off the pages, which I think is it's one of the shortcomings because they are both supposed to be part of the LGBT community, and I feel as though they didn't properly represent the LGBTQ community. I do like the fact that the author made the effort to include the LGBTQ community. I do appreciate that. Maddie is bisexual, and Taya, she just references her attraction to fellow women, so I think she's, a lesbian. I think that's what I got from it. There's clearly an attraction between Maddie and Taya, but again, it felt flat because Taya just comes off more as a plot device. Granted, I will say this: her background is very interesting. The development of her background is very interesting, and I liked that. But I think both characters kind of fell short personality-wise. I wasn't really able to connect to Taya at all. Maddie, I was able to at least kind of sympathize with. I was able to feel for her on some level. And like I said, she went on a really good character arc. She grows a lot. As for Taya, again, she just feels like a side character. She didn't resonate off the pages, and I wish she had because she has such an interesting story arc, following Taya's little adventures in the story because she is a side character. Following the events surrounding her are very interesting. Learning about her backstory was very interesting. So everything surrounding Taya was interesting. It was just her personality that fell flat for me. I just wasn't able to really connect to her. That being said, the events of the ending were very impactful regarding her character. I thought it was very well executed. That ending sequence was very high tension, very fast paced. It gripped me. I didn't want to put it down. I had to read. I had to know what was going to happen next, considering all the revelations and the plot twists. I needed to know. And that's why I liked the story ultimately, because it did hook me in with the storytelling. There is some character growth and development throughout the story. Yes, the character Maddie does start out a little flat in the beginning, but she does rise to the occasion. The author does make an effort to give her a voice in the story. I just wish the same had been done for Taya, ultimately. So, I'm going to give Havenfall by Sarah Holland, I'm going to go ahead and give it 3.5 stars, just because I wasn't really able to connect to these characters as much as I wanted to. I thought the story was engaging. I loved Sarah Holland's storytelling. I liked how she created the fantasy. I love how she was able to layer in just a little bit of realism to the story as well. I do think she is a good storyteller. I do think that the author knows exactly how to weave a story. I just feel like characterization was lacking a little bit. But, I am excited for the second novel given the events. So much happened in this novel. I need to know how it's going to play out next. Um, so if a novel ultimately leaves me wanting to read its sequel, then I think the author did a good job. So once again, this was Havenfall by Sarah Holland, 3.5 out of 5 stars. You can go ahead and purchase the book off of bookshop.org. I will provide a link in the description below. If money's too tight, which I know for a lot of us it is during this time of COVID, go ahead and rent the book from your local library. You can get audio copies from the library. You can get ebooks from the library. A lot of libraries have curbside pickup. It's so easy to check out the book from the library, and libraries are a great resource for the community, and I think they definitely deserve our support. I know it's kind of like my dream job to work in a library, so gonna keep trying. And you know what? I hope you guys will support me by liking this video and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and as always, happy reading!